Yo, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to Bullony Basketball. As you can see, I'm here with a familiar face on the channel, a guy who's been on Bullony Basketball for a while. My guy, Sports Wikipedia. How's it going, my man?
Doing good. Ready to talk some NBA basketball.
Yes, sir. Of course. And what better way, I guess, to start off than, we have to acknowledge it's the last real week of the NBA season. The playoffs are right around the corner. Things are going to get spicy. And some players are trying to come back to help their team's chances, like Anthony Davis. So, he recently returned. He's played a couple games with the Mavericks. I know he sat out the other day against the Clippers, but, in his games, he's been back. They've been winning a little bit more. So just since he's been back, do you think that he can help their chances to make the playoffs? And I guess, how optimistic do you feel about AD with the Mavs moving forward?
Now, of course, when Anthony Davis is fully healthy, you can say he's arguably at least in the top 10 conversation. And, if anyone has AD in the top 10, I can understand, given the fact when he's fully healthy, he's a dominant scorer, great rebounder, and, of course, he's usually among the best defensive players. He can consistently give you around 25 to 30 points, double-digit rebounds, along with stellar defense. Now, when Davis first came back recently, he was struggling, but his last game, I believe, he put up 34 points and 15 rebounds, which is the AD, I expect. Putting up numbers like that, MVP numbers. Of course, he's no Giannis or Jokic, but he's still one of the better big men. I think, honestly, the only big man I would put above AD off the top of my head would be Giannis and Jokic. So I would say, at worst, when he's healthy, Anthony Davis is the third best big man. But the funny thing is, let's just say if Anthony Davis gets hurt again, I have a feeling at least some are going to say it's karma for the Mavericks for, trading Luka, which, okay, I guess you can say that. But at the same time, I don't know if that's really fair for Anthony Davis. But I can almost guarantee if Davis keeps getting hurt, if he gets hurt again sooner rather than later, I can see, especially Lakers fans or, big time Luka fans are going to be like, yeah, that's karma. That's what the Mavericks get for trading Luka. That's, I can almost guarantee that's probably what's going to happen if AD gets hurt again. During the 2021-22 season, I don't know if you remember this, but I'm pretty sure both those years AD missed at least half the season.
Mm-hmm.
So I am curious, with him being now in his, I think it's 32 or 33, or something like that. So I'm curious is, how much his health is going to be concerned. But yeah, that's all I got to say for now.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think that with AD, and I was even thinking this before the Luka trade happened, it's how many years does he have left before he can, where he can still be Anthony Davis, he can still be remotely healthy while contributing at that level. And I feel like there really isn't a whole lot of years, which is why I think a lot of people thought this was a win now move for the Mavs. It's okay, you got a guy like Kyrie Irving and you got a guy like AD who are both in their kind of still in their prime, the very back end of it, but you have only a couple years to do it. And then Kyrie goes out for the season. AD gets hurt his first game. And at least he's been back. Now, I will say, I think for this season, I think that they have an interesting case for making the playoffs. I think of all those teams at the fighting for that back playoff or play-in spot between them, the Kings, and the Suns, I feel most confident about them. But then they're going to have to win a game against probably the Clippers, the Timberwolves, the Warriors, or the Grizzlies, or the Lakers, or the Nuggets if they slide down there too, or one of those type of teams. And that's where it gets a little bit harder to pick them over those teams. So, and it is, like you said, people are going to say the karma thing and stuff. It does, it's very low. The move really just didn't make sense in general, and I think we all realize that. But if the Mavericks even fail to reach where they were supposed to, then they're going to get criticized, let alone miss the playoffs, which I think everyone had them penciled in to make. It's just not a very good look,
Yeah, I do have one more thing to say. Usually, I would, since it's the end of the season, usually I would suggest for AD to, at the very least, limit his playing time for the rest of the season. But I'm pretty sure the Mavericks are right now a play-in team. They're in the play-in spot, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
So,
ninth,
Mavericks really can't afford for AD to even limit his playing time. They really need him to play right now if they want to make it to the playoffs.
Yeah, no, they need him to keep playing, and they need him to keep playing like almost like New Orleans level AD. I don't totally trust them. And granted, like they are getting guys back. I know Gafford came back and PJ Washington came back a few weeks ago, but it's just still like very hard to believe in them when they, don't really have much at the backcourt right now. I think if Kyrie were healthy, I know Jaden Hardy just got hurt the other day too, so it's like they're missing a lot of guys, it feels like. So next season, maybe, although they're just going to be another year older. But as for this season, could they make the playoffs? I think they can. I mean, like I said, I would favor them over the Suns or the Kings in that like 9-10 game. I don't think I'd favor them in the other game, whoever they play, to get that 8th seed, but I think they could win it. But then you also got to think it's like, okay, if they win that, they're going to play the Thunder. Then their season's probably over, So, yeah. But yeah, I don't know if there's anything else you wanted to add there.
Even though what Mavericks did to Luka.
Oh, what'd you say? Sorry.
Yeah. Even though what the Mavericks did to Luka, I would still say is unfair. At the same time, you got to kind of feel bad for the Mavericks with all the injuries they've been dealing with.
Yeah. No, I agree. And the fans. It's like, just because it's like you trade away Luka, no one wanted that. And then now all their players right now are hurt. So it's like they can't even see what they were investing in, I guess. So it's tough. But fortunately for both of us, we're not Mavericks fans. But we can keep it pushing here. Talk about the next topic, which is, the Memphis Grizzlies, who
Thank goodness
have the Grizzlies have just been really weird lately, like they were in like second or third most of the year, and then now they've kind of slid down to like that 6, 7, 8 spot. Likely could end up in the play-in now. They just fired their coach not too long ago. People are saying all year Ja has not looked the same. So I guess like just what are your thoughts on the Grizzlies lately, like sliding in the standings, and I guess like what do you expect from them like for the rest of this season?
Well, I remember at one point when the Memphis Grizzlies were, I think, a 2 or 3 seed. I think a 2 seed.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people actually thought the Grizzlies were actually contenders in the West, because a lot of people were saying, "Oh, it's OKC Thunder, and then there's the Grizzlies." But now, with the season almost gone, I would say that's totally the opposite. Sorry for the Grizzlies fans, but it's not like that. But before we started this, we talked about how the Memphis Grizzlies just beat the Miami Heat. Mm-hmm. And even though they beat the Miami Heat, they're still struggling to win. I've been hearing from others saying how they can't beat, teams are above 500 playoff contention teams. Despite the struggle, Grizzlies firing Taylor Jenkins right before the playoffs is confusing and so weird. Like, I don't think I've ever seen that before. And I've been watching NBA basketball for over 15 years. I don't know how long you've been watching basketball, but that might be the first time I've ever seen an NBA head coach get fired with less than 10 games into the season. When I first heard about that on Twitter, I was like, what? There's no way, Because, the Grizzlies, they're on pace for around 50 wins with Ja Morant missing 30 games. The timing is just so random. I understand Grizzlies aren't quite, in my opinion, they're not quite a deep playoff team, but besides 2024, the Grizzlies have been a 50-plus win team in the last few years. And with Taylor Jenkins gone, I wouldn't be surprised if Grizzlies don't win as many games next season.
Yeah. No,
You can go ahead.
yeah, no, I agree with a lot of what you're saying. Now the one thing I will say is, as someone who I guess like I've never really been high on Taylor Jenkins. I feel like he's probably not the coach they need. But what I will say is, no matter what, like you just can't fire a coach like 10 games before the playoffs start when you're going to be a postseason team. Like that's just going to throw the whole like system and structure out the window. So that's why like the rest of this season is really confusing for them. It's like they pretty much just threw away their chances. And at this point, when they fired him, I'm pretty sure they still were sitting in third or maybe fourth. Maybe the Nuggets were ahead of them. That's still not bad. And second seed was in play too for them. So it's a little confusing. I do think that it got to a point probably where Ja was a little unhappy. I know he'd been playing the least amount of minutes per game of any season of his career. At the same time, though, it's like a lot of players like that who are injury prone very often. Like they usually come back with a minutes restriction to some degree. As a Derrick Rose fan, I know that myself. So that's probably part of the reason. But I don't know. This team in general, I know they're young. They still have potential to get better over the next couple years, but just it's a really weird situation for them because I think they're going to be a good team for multiple years, but can they be a great team? That's, I think, the question. And I think you're seeing that like OKC, like the first or 2 years ago, they showed promise or potential. Last year, they were a good team. This year, they look like they're a great team. So it doesn't seem like the Grizzlies have like got over that like last hurdle to be on that same par with them. I don't know if that you see that or if you agree with that or not, but that's just like what I'm seeing. They seem like a playoff perennial team that probably can't go any higher that we've seen so far.
Yeah. I don't know if this sounds crazy, but I wouldn't be surprised if at least one of, if not the biggest reason why they fired Taylor Jenkins is because they might think they can get out of the hump of just being a playoff team. They want to be a deep playoff team. I mean, they think that, we fired Taylor Jenkins, maybe we can get out of this hump of just being a good, successful regular season team and not being a deep playoff team.
Yeah. No,
and personally, I think the recent struggle should be more blamed on the players than Taylor Jenkins. I'm not saying Taylor Jenkins is a perfect coach. There is no perfect coach. But personally, I mean, you're going to control so much as a head coach. You really can't control injuries, and you can't always control what the players are doing on the court. You can't always, control what decisions your players are doing. The Grizzlies, their defense definitely needs to step up. While it's been their defense has been struggling a lot of the season. I would say since the All-Star break, the Grizzlies defense has actually been worse. Ja Morant I don't know if he knows, but Ja Morant has also mentioned he wasn't satisfied with the system, the way the offense was running. They were using like less pick and rolls. I don't know if you know about that.
Yeah.
He wasn't like satisfied with how the Grizzlies were running their offense. So I wouldn't be surprised if another reason why they fired Taylor Jenkins is to keep Ja Morant satisfied. Because even though you can argue Jaren Jackson Jr. is just as good, well, specifically this season as Ja Morant is definitely the face of the Grizzlies. And you want to keep your face satisfied and happy. So I can see that being a reason why they fired Taylor Jenkins to keep Ja Morant, satisfied.
Yeah, and it is like, players first league, I would say now. It's pretty rare like they'd make decisions where it would favor the coach. You'd probably have to be like a Greg Popovich or something like that, like before something like that happens. But yeah, I agree. I don't think that, just seems like it's coaching was part of it. I'll say that. But I also think to an extent the players do have something to be accountable for because sometimes they play really sporadically. And that's not necessarily a coaching thing. That's like a bad habits thing. Just I, I guess not to throw shade, but like Russell Westbrook, for example, that's like his whole career. That's kind of the type of player he's been. It's hard to, I guess, shift that gear off when you've played like that for so long. And I think players on the Grizzlies, a lot of them have those tendencies. So maybe that's part of it. Although I know, like, at least for Jenkins, like the rotations, sometimes we're skeptical. And just in general, like, seemed like that the players and the coach weren't meeting eye to eye as much as maybe they used to. So, yeah. But, yeah, I don't know if there's anything else you wanted to add there or if you want to get into the next one.
Nope.
Cool. So, we could talk a little bit about the team that you mentioned that they just beat, although weren't totally sold on the Grizzlies. And maybe it's a little, premature to say this team hasn't figured it out to some extent. The Miami Heat, they went on a big losing streak after they traded Jimmy Butler for Andrew Wiggins and stuff. And, it looked like pretty grim, although they did go on a 6-game winning streak to bounce back. So, I mean, obviously now, like, they don't have Jimmy Butler and stuff. They're still in the play-in. But do you think that, like, that Heat culture, like, intensity could still be there come playoff time? And, do you think maybe they could still be a threat as a lower seed like they were in previous years?
Personally, sorry to the Miami Heat fans. I hope the Miami Heat don't make it to the playoffs. I seen that right before this video, I checked and seen there were a 9 or 10 seed, and your Chicago Bulls are, I think, 9 or 10 seed.
Mm-hmm.
I definitely prefer if the Bulls make it to the playoffs over the Miami Heat.
Heck yeah.
But no, I don't. Even if the Heat make it to the playoffs, the highest seed the Heat are going to get is a 7 seed. So they're either going to face my Celtics or the Cavaliers, and they're not going to get more than one win against either of those teams. I don't see the Miami Heat as a threat, even if they still had Jimmy Butler. I mean, they're going to be, at best, the Miami Heat are just a first-round exit team.
Yeah.
My personal opinion. Hey, credit for Tyler Herro for the season he's having. He's averaging, I think, like almost 24 points.
Yeah.
And
first-time All-Star, three-point champ.
Yep. It was overdue, actually.
The All-Star or the three-point thing?
I don't see the Miami Heat. More so the All-Star.
That's fair.
But yeah, I don't see the Miami Heat as a threat in the playoffs. Almost guaranteed, they're going to get swept in the first round.
I would agree. Although it is hard, like, because even last year, I mean, you even know with your Celtics, who went all the way for the championship, they pretty much, like, they played that playoffs without Jimmy, kind of outnumbered, and they still at least managed to get a game. So I do think with Eric Spoelstra, coaching and stuff, they'll find a way to at least win a game. But I agree with you. I don't think they're a realistic, like, playoff threat. They would, avoiding a sweep, like, isn't really much to be proud of, I guess, especially when you're that accomplished of a franchise and that accomplished of a coach. And it's been to the finals, like, 2 of the last, like, 4 or 5 years. So, but I don't really think they're that, I don't know. They just seem like they've kind of, like, lost their touch a little bit, which is a little unfortunate because you see some teams like this, like when the, if you think about the Clippers, not the current Clippers, but like when they lost Chris Paul and they lost Blake Griffin and stuff, they came out the next year with, like, when they had, like, Lou Williams and Gallinari and Montrezl Harrell and a young Shea and, like, guys like that, and they won, like, 48 games. They took the Warriors with KD to 6 games. Like, that could be a performance like that would be interesting. I don't know if this Heat team really has that in them, though. I think that I don't even really think they'll beat my Bulls, to be honest, if we met in the 9-10 game. But even if they did somehow get the 8th seed, I don't think they're winning more than one game on Cleveland, like you said.
And I'm sure, me being a Celtics fan, I can see at least some Heat fans saying, well, you know what? You should be scared because our Miami Heat just beat the Celtics. I'm like, well, still doesn't change the fact my Celtics are 3-1 against the Heat this season. Yeah. I don't care if the Heat just beat my Celtics.
Yeah.
Playoffs is a different story.
And like you said, I
And
mean,
my Celtics, and also the
no, go ahead.
sorry,
Sorry. No, go ahead. Go
my
ahead.
Celtics and also the Cavaliers have too much to handle.
Yeah, that's true. But
So yeah,
even like what you were saying too, I think even if Jimmy Butler was still on the team and if the vibes were good, I don't think the Heat really would be that much of a threat, anyways. Maybe they're like in that top six, like around the Detroit, Indiana, Milwaukee range, but I don't think they're a threat to Cleveland or the Celtics. Maybe not even the Knicks. I don't know. And the Knicks they're not even in that tier of teams, so it's I don't know. But if you want, we can move along here to the next topic. Now, this is kind of a fun topic that I do. It's I call it the honor of the week, and so it's basically I'm gonna give you this former NBA player. You'll have 1 minute to talk about them, whether for good, for bad. Like you can praise on them, you can hate on them, but I will tell you, he did play for the Celtics, so I'm guessing you'll probably have more good things to say about him. And you'll have roughly 1 minute to talk about him, but if you go over the time, then that's still okay. You know, it's fine. But are you ready?
yes.
Okay. So the player you'll have to talk about for roughly about a minute is, and you can start as soon as I say his name, the player is John Havlicek.
Oh, the funny thing is, my next video is going to be about John Havlicek being above Scottie Pippen.
Crazy.
So I think John Havlicek is really underrated. You know, people talk about Michael Jordan being 6-0 in the finals. Well, John Havlicek, he's 8-0 in the finals. I'm not saying, oh, John Havlicek should be in the same conversation as Michael Jordan, but you can't deny the fact that all 8 of his championship runs, Havlicek's championship runs, he made a huge impact, especially the 1968, 69, and 74 championship runs. I would say at those 3 runs, especially in 1974, he was the best player. 1968 69, Bill Russell, he was the leader, but I don't think he was the best player. I would say those 2 championship runs, 68 and 69, John Havlicek was the best player. And I think like from 1970 to 72, he averaged like 28 points, maybe double-digit rebounds, and he was among the best defensive players. A lot of people don't realize, or John Havlicek was actually a really good defensive player. I think he had like 5 first-team All-NBA defensive
Like
selections,
5 or 6,
if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And he has 8 or 9 total. And you know, compared to Scottie Pippen, I think John Havlicek was a much better scorer. He was a better playmaker, and I think you can argue John Havlicek's defense was just good. He played a bigger role in his championship runs. And the only Celtics I would put, all-time Celtics player I would put above John Havlicek is, of course, Larry Bird and Bill Russell. So yeah, I would have John Havlicek as the 3rd greatest Celtics, which is saying something because there's been a lot of all-time great Celtics players.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. I mean, I would say he's right there too, like right at that 3rd spot behind Bird and Bill Russell. I mean, as someone who's, was a Paul Pierce fan and stuff growing up, and there's other guys like Bob Cousy who helped like maybe the evolution of the game in like the 50s and like early 60s and stuff. Kevin McHale and stuff. Like, I just feel like he's number 3. It's cool that you brought up like 68 and 69, because in 69, like, of course, that's when they came up with the Finals MVP award, and they gave it the first year to Jerry West on the losing side. I think when they first created the award, just like any award, there's always like some, confusion with like the definition of what it means to be like whatever that said thing is. So when the Finals MVP was created, I'm sure they probably didn't expect it to every year after that it was going to go to the best player on the best team, or best player on the winning team, rather than that finals. Like, it probably went to whoever had the best numbers and the most impact and stuff. Because Jerry West probably was the best player in that series, but John Havlicek was the best player on the winning side. So, in today's era, he would definitely probably get that Finals MVP. And then same thing with, 1974, like you said, like he was the guy in that one. Really, I feel like you could even argue that maybe he was the MVP of the team throughout the year when Dave Cowens was the MVP. So, I don't know. I think that it's an interesting case. He's one of the underrated players because he could defend, he could shoot the ball, and he ran a lot like around the court too. Just like how Steph does today, Steph Curry. Like he was running around the court probably more than anyone at his time. So wanted to put him here because I knew that as a Celtic fan yourself, you would have a lot to say about him too. So
Yeah. If I'm not mistaken, during the 1969 finals, Havlicek, I think he averaged like 28 points and 11 rebounds. So I just don't know why they couldn't just give him the finals MVP.
Yeah, it was weird. I know also too at that point, like I really wonder what the dialogue was back then. I mean, obviously I wasn't alive in 1969, but I just wonder what the dialogue was then because you got to think it's a guy like Jerry West who maybe is the best player who never won a regular season MVP. Maybe they thought that by having that award and giving it to him there, like it would make up for that or something. I don't know. I mean, granted, Havlicek still found his name on one, but I do think that you could argue he could have that one as well. So, but yeah, I don't know if there's anything else you wanted to add about John Havlicek.
Nope.
Cool. Well, we can move on to the final thing to close out the show here. It is the Rose Rhymery Minigame. So, just kind of like nursery rhymes and stuff like that. But every single line I'm going to give you, it's kind of like a poem in a way. It's going to start off with like the roses are red, violets are blue type of thing. Now, every single line I'm going to start off with roses are red, and then I have like the rhymes kind of changed after that. And basically, you have to guess who the player is to get points. And the quicker you guess it, you'll get more points. So if you guess it within 3 seconds of me saying the full line, you'll get 10 points. Within 10 seconds, you'll get 8 points. Within 15 seconds, you'll get 5 points. Within 30 seconds, you'll get 2 points. And then after 30 seconds, I'll say, okay, that's time. If you don't have it by then, I'll let you do one more guess. If you get it then, you'll get 1 point. So the best you can do is 50 points, but we'll see how you can do. So are you ready? Oh, wait.
Yes.
Okay. It was just crazy lag and stuff. So I think for the sake of lag too, I'm really going to give you like 35 seconds. So that means there'll be like a 5-second buffer. So we'll see how quick you can get these here. So the first one, I'm going to read it out here. And you're thinking of the player that this is referring to. So the rhymery is roses are red, violets are blue. I was a maverick in January. The Laker lifestyle is still new. And you can go right ahead.
Luka Doncic?
It is Luka Doncic. Yes, you got it. Nice. So you got that in 2 seconds. So you got the 10 points right there. That's how easy it works. Just like that. So I will say not all of them are current players, but yeah. And I should say there are 5 questions. So like I said, you got 10 points for that one. We'll see if you can get number 2. Are you ready?
Yes.
Okay. So number 2, this one might be a little bit more tricky, but we'll see how you can do here. Roses are red. The Spurs are sad, but that's largely due to an injured French lad. Go.
Victor Wembanyama?
You got it. Yes, it is Victor Wembanyama. All right. Just like that, you got back-to-back 10 points. That one was like right at the 3-second mark, but I know there's a delay on here, so I'm going to give you the 10 points for that one. Okay, so right now you got 20 for 20. Now the next 3 are going to be some former players, so it might have you thinking a little bit more. So are you ready?
All right.
All right. So number 3, and again, 30 seconds max. If it gets to the time, then I will let you do one more guess. So Here we go. Roses are red. I'm a pretty skilled shooter, both on and off the court. Some say I'm a media polluter. Go.
Reggie Miller?
No. You can keep guessing, too.
Ray Allen?
No.
Skilled shooter, huh?
Yes. On and off the court.
Damn.
You got 5 seconds before the 30-second mark.
Man.
Okay. So that's the time.
I have no idea.
So I'll read it again for you. You'll have one last crack at it. So if you get this right now, you'll still get 1 point. Roses are red. I'm a pretty skilled shooter, both on and off the court. Some say I'm a media polluter. So if you think about like shooting stuff off the court too, like I guess like that might help. Anyone coming to mind? Or
No.
Okay. Well,
I should probably know this too.
You will know it. I think when I say it, it's a little weird though because there's a little like it's a funny part to it. Okay, so you no guess you got or anything?
No, I don't have a guess.
Okay, so the answer. So roses are red. I'm a pretty skilled shooter, both on and off the court. Some say I'm a media polluter. It was Gilbert Arenas. Because of the Gunners. and he's like a podcaster and stuff, but he always has bad takes. So that's why I put media polluter there. But yeah, so it was a little bit of a weird one, that one. So but yeah, okay. So still got 20 points though. And we got 2 more left. So are you ready for number 4?
Yes.
Okay. Number 4 is also kind of hard. I think number 5, though, you'll definitely be able to get. But number 4 might be a little tricky, so we'll see. So here we go. Roses are red. I'm a 2-time champ. All with the same team. Now I serve on their commentators' camp. Go. So basically, you won 2 championships with the team he's a commentator with.
He won 2 championships as a player, right?
Yes.
Okay, so making sure. I'm trying to think.
Got about 10 seconds, and then you'll have one final crack. 3, 2, 1. Okay, so I can read it again, and you'll have one more crack at it. So again, it is roses are red. I'm a 2-time champ. With the same team, I now serve on the commentators' camp. What are we thinking?
Can you tell me when he played?
I will tell you. How can I say this without giving it away? I'll say he played before the 80s. If that helps to some extent.
Okay. Before the 80s, huh?
Yeah. It's a little tricky, but What are you thinking? You got any?
Willis Reed?
Ooh,
Is it Willis? Is it Willis Reed? Walt Frazier?
I'll give it. I'll give it to you. It is Walt Frazier. Yeah, that's what it was. Yeah, I was like, it was right there, but I'll give you the 1 point for Walt Frazier. Yeah. So, yeah, it's because he won 2 championships with the Knicks, and then now he's with Mike Breen and stuff. He's like on their commentator thing, you know. So, okay. So not bad. So you got 21 points right now. This last one, we'll see if you can get this. I think you should be able to get this one though. So are you ready?
Yes.
All right. Last one. We'll see if you can finish off strong. So number 5 is roses are red. So was my team. I'm a 6-time champion and 6-time finals MVP. Go.
Michael Jordan.
You got it. Yes. It was pretty simple, just like that. Michael Jordan. Had to end off with the GOAT, you know. So, yeah, you got that in like 2 seconds. Pretty easy. So, another 10-pointer right there. So, yeah, all in all, you got 10 for the first 2. You got 10 for Michael Jordan. You still got a point for Walt Frazier. The only one you missed was the Gilbert Arenas one, but even then, 31 points in total. It's a pretty good score, I would say. How do you feel about
that? I'll take it. Could be better. Could be worse.
That's fair. Yeah, it is. Like, some of these are a little weird, you know. I think it's a little bit similar to a while ago, like when I did like the riddles, NBA riddles stuff, and like some of these, it's like you got to think about like what they do, or it's like something very obscure, you know, or like play on words, you know. So, but yeah, 31 points, not too shabby. But yeah, pretty much gonna close out the show. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. Appreciate you guys for watching. I don't know if you have anything you want to add before we close this one out.
Nope.
Pretty simple. I like it. But yeah, I'll have my guy Sports Wikipedia stuff in the description. So be sure to check him out. Always making content, especially, you know, just like me, you know, respecting the older players and stuff. You already heard him say he's making a video coming out soon about John Havlicek, who was our honor of the week this week. So yeah, be sure to stay tuned for that. Hopefully you guys enjoy. Thank you guys for watching, and we're out. Peace.